Hi everyone, Jill from the North Woods. Sorry, I just got an update message right in the middle of recording. I hope you're doing well this week, and I'll tell you a little bit about what happened with the optic nerve. I'm glad I have information to share with you so quickly because I did what every human being will do when they are in this situation in the 2025s. I Googled it. I asked ChatGPT. I looked for what the worst case scenario is or what the most likely situation is, just so I could find out, what exactly it is. I mean, honestly, this situation could have been really bad. It could have indicated something was really wrong, anything from MS to a brain tumor. It was most likely that there was damage to my eye. And then the question was, would it get better? Would it eventually spread to the other eye? Or is everything going to be fine? And this week was pretty hard, with that. It was, the whole week was hard just in general. I will tell you that me, my friends, family members, everything kind of blew up since I would say last week, Wednesday, and just had a ton of trouble. And we've been just sorting it out one thing at a time. And trying to, help our families out and help my friends out and things like that. So this was just one more thing on the pile of last week. And hopefully this week will be a little bit better. Just to give you a rundown, I gained half a pound. I am now upgrading my calories from probably where it was probably somewhere around 1,000 calories to 1,200 calories because, like I said, 12.5 did a number on me. I just never felt like eating, even on day 7, even right before the shot. I lost all interest in food and lost all energy, and I just felt pretty terrible all the time. So, slowly but surely, I've been upping my calories. I haven't started taking my prebiotic yet, but I hope to starting tomorrow. And I want to read a little bit like, do you have to do it with food or should you do it? I want to know the details about it. But, so far on track. And now my calories are up somewhere around 1,400 calories a day. And that, like I said, maybe I'll bump it up an extra 100, but I kind of want to see that I don't gain weight. I'm trying to look for a stable spot with it. And I think I am in a stable spot because if we recall, I had been in a pretty nasty plateau. And I started doing research and asking the question, if I'm in a plateau and it's hard to get it to lose weight, is it also going to be hard to gain weight? So or at least what I read, is that plateaus are where your body knows the math. Maybe you were here once before for a long period of time, although I don't recall being at this weight for a long period of time. But maybe I was, I don't remember every weight I was at. Like I said, 8th grade, I was around 149, and in college, I was at 186. So somewhere in between there, I must have been, let's say I'm right now around 160, and I wanted to get to at least 135 in my weight loss. So, upping my calories, the idea is to up my calories to a normal level and then just see how it goes. Not worry about losing weight and not worry about, not, like I said, I would like to lose more weight. And, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. And so half a pound's fine. Like I said, I've increased my calories now up pretty consistently to 1,400 calories, maybe a little bit more. Feel good. The other interesting thing about last week is that I decided to move my shot day from Wednesday and move it to Fridays because when I picked Wednesdays, it was a quiet time and I was worried about side effects. Now I'm going down. I'm not so worried about side effects anymore. And so I think that Fridays would be good. I want the drug to be in full dose on weekends where I have more temptations and I have less control over what I eat, if I'm with friends or, we go out or something like that. So I thought Fridays would be a little bit better. So when I had that lull time, when I didn't take my shot on Wednesday, and then suddenly Thursday and Friday, this Thanksgiving and the day after, the drug was wearing off, I started to feel better. And that Friday before I took the shot, I felt great. And so now then I took the 12.5 shot. I was going to do without it, and I just couldn't bring myself to waste something so expensive. So I took the 12.5 shot again. Felt terrible, but I noticed that it was more like me being used to GLP-1. So when you go on a new dose, it kind of hits you hard at the beginning, and then you sort of settle down and you sort of feel normal GLP-1. I was starting to feel normal GLP-1. So I think I finally did adapt to 12.5, but I not unhappy about going down to 10.0. So then this week, Friday, I took my first 10.0 milligram shot of Mounjaro, and nothing happened. I didn't feel any rush. Like I said, I usually feel kind of sick for 2 hours after. I feel kind of lower energy. Nothing. I mean, I just felt like it never even happened. So I assume I'll have to do some research into this, that when I say GLP isn't working anymore, I think it's not true. I think GLP-1 is working, is doing something, and it's just you're not feeling any of the side effects of it. I feel great. And I felt great all week long. My energy has been restored. I used the Welltory app, and it was showing me as stressed out. My heart rate was up. My heart rate variability was down. All that's gone. And my digestion and resulting pooping is too much information, right? But everything's back to normal, like almost like I was before I started taking GLP-1. I feel great, but not, cravings, no food noises, anything like that. So it's sort of in a good place where I'm not being overrun with food, but neither do I never feel like eating again. GLP-1, particularly the 12.5 dose, made me feel like I never wanted to eat. Food repulsed me most of the time, and now I feel good. So this, I think, is a success. And so we'll talk a little bit about the optic nerve and what I found out when it comes to GLP-1s and the optic nerve. And I think it's good news for all of us because there's always this concern. Maybe you have it, I had it, that maybe, this GLP-1, you see people who have terrible side effects. They're pretty rare because this is, again, something we make in our bodies, although this is much more than we make in our bodies. But people do get pancreatitis. People do get some severe issues. And I wonder how much of that is people, one, not taking care of themselves, but two, part of it is that if you were like me, you were diabetic before you started taking this or having some kind of health issue, and sick people are sick. If you are not in a healthy situation, things are going to happen to you, and that's where we're going to come into this eye thing. And people will blame it on the GLP-1 when it may be a resulting effect of what health condition you were in before this started, which goes back into my eye thing. That's exactly what happened to me. So again, I was nervous. I was pretty scared about it because isn't that interesting? I thought, I even told the eye doctor this. I said, it would have been so ironic that I did all this to get into shape so that I could be healthy and fit and go hiking and bird watching for the rest of my life and my retirement, only to go blind. That was the message I kept telling myself in my head. And so, like I said, I started to do research, and I do have a paid account through ChatGPT. It helps me write my show notes and everything else that I'm not a very good writer. So it helps me do some of the things. It doesn't make these podcasts, but it helps me to do some of the after work of my podcast. And I started spiraling about this because I was getting nervous. Like I said, am I going to go blind? What's going to happen to me? So I asked it, like, what are the worst case scenarios? What's the most likely scenario? And it gave really good advice. It referenced where it's at. And we're going to talk about sort of the limits about AI and what to do about medical information. But AI wasn't dramatic about it. It didn't say this was catastrophic. It mentioned that if they were really concerned I was going blind or something was more severely wrong with me, I either would have gone directly to the ER or I would have gone to neurology, not a retina specialist. So just the fact that they sent me to a retina specialist meant that they were not worried very much that this was going to be as dramatic as I'm making it up in my head. So the other part that the ChatGPT did is it reminded me exactly that there is mild optic nerve swelling. It happens. It's often benign. That there can be dangerous causes. But the fact that I didn't have blurry vision, that I didn't have severe headaches, that I didn't have referral pain, which means you hurt somewhere else, was a good sign. And so even though it was scary, that was the case. that if they had really been scared for me about going blind or something more serious, they would not have waited a week, which to me, in my mind, and if you go to the doctor, going and being seen by a professional a week later, that's pretty quick. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, they're taking this very seriously, right? But instead, it was saying that there would have been other actions in place. So it gave context for what was going on. The other nice thing that it did is it walked me through exactly what this ophthalmologist experiment was going to be like. There was going to be an initial vision test, color test, peripheral vision test, and then we were going to have what was called a fundus scan, which is a deep look into the eye. You know, it's funny, I work in clinical trials, and you know how many trials I built in the system and set up the billing for fundus scans, and then, you know, either one eye or both eyes. And so they did a deep scan, and then they did a better version of what my eye doctor has, which would be this OCT, where it looks through the layers. And so that's what saw this initial optic nerve swelling and saw the liquid that was inside of my eye. This one's a better one. And these guys were all professional, women too, guys and women, but they were all professional. They were fantastic. They were friendly. And I really appreciated everything that they went through and explained with me. And the other thing too is that the apparently my light went out. The other thing that was nice is that it walked me through, like, if they do this additional thing, it may mean that they think of this, but instead it grounded me and it kept me from getting less scared. And I was still sure nervous about it, but I really liked my participation in this. I know a lot of people are scared. There's rumors that Apple is going to integrate ChatGPT, maybe others, and initially into their health so that you can look for correlations. Like, I spent a lot of data time finding out that beef was spiking my blood sugar. I would eat something and I would sort of notice, like, wow, that was a really bad day. I ate steak that day. And there is a genetic place where beef actually spikes glucose for some people, and I'm one of those people. So then I started doing experiments. If I suddenly having a great day and then I eat beef, boom, it would just go out of control. Wouldn't it be nice if you had AI that could help you figure these things out? But what AI is good about is it's good at understanding the meaning of medical terms. I could ask it, what does this word mean? Or what, when they said this word, what does that mean? And then it helped me just sort of put, I kind of live by statistics. I was somewhat of a statistics major in college. And so, sure, you might have the rare disease, but what is the most common? What is the most likely, chance of it? And then it helped me to come up with a list of questions, and some of them were very good. The doctor was like, oh, where'd you get that question from? Well, I got it from ChatGPT. I told him that. And so it helped me understand exactly what it is. And then it sort of put all the symptoms together. It helped me sleep at night, essentially, instead of spiraling. So it was just very calming to sort of know what exactly to expect and what was most likely the case. And I thought that that was pretty beneficial to me. What AI is not for is not diagnosing you, not telling you what kind of treatment you should do. I have seen so many bad stories of people who have done things, taken poison, because AI told them to do it. So we are going to get diagnosed by a doctor. We're going to get treatment from a doctor. We are not going to overrule our doctor. We're not going to replace medical tests, and we're not going to let it make decisions for us. It is more exactly what we think AI is. It's like having a translator, an assistant, but not a doctor substitute. So keep that in mind, that that's what it is. And so it gave me a list of really good questions to ask, because I was nervous, and so having a list of really good questions to ask at the end of the appointment was great. So it helped me stay calm. It gave me perspective. It prepared me for the appointment. Even said that there would be long waiting points in this appointment, and maybe to stay calm, it'd be nice if I brought my AirPods along or headphones along so I could listen to some podcasts or some music to stay calm while all that was happening. So that even gave, like, beyond medical, it just said, you might be nervous. Here's some things you could do to stop being so nervous. So I thought that was great. And that was essentially how I worked my way up. So then I went to the doctor on this Friday, so it was a week away, and told me exactly what was going on. And we walked through, like I said, the visits step by step. I did the part. I showed up, I asked good questions, I stayed engaged, even though I was having a little bit of anxiety. I even told him I was a little bit anxious and helped to gather facts. And so that was great. I mean, that was really where I think AI and computing can really help when we're combining it with us, and so I think this was a good example of it. So, what happened with the eye doctor is that in the end, after all these tests were done, said that there was swelling around the optic nerve, and that just means that it was a little bit of fluid liquid in the eye itself. And I finally got answers, and this was great because I actually did. I started getting the idea when I was in there, oh, we're doing so many tests. There's no way I'm going to walk out of here and they're going to tell me what went wrong. And that was not true. I met with the doctor at the very end, and he told me exactly what was going on, and that was great. And so this was great. The swelling wasn't the dangerous kind. It wasn't the sign of high blood pressure. It wasn't a sign of optic neuritis, like optic nerve damage. It wasn't a tumor. Instead, it was something that was called, he called it a diabetic edema. And that means, I think edema just means blood leakage, and it's in the eye. So that's what it makes sense. The nice thing about it is that the doctor used that term. And so when I got home, ChatGPT that question, it said, well, actually, I was in the doctor's office. So it said, make sure you ask, is it macular diabetic edema or is it non? Because sometimes they use that term and they don't really mean that term, because the macular one could mean something very dangerous. And the doctor was like, oh, no, it's not that at all. This is because you did damage to your eye while you were diabetic, and and it's showing up now. So the damage was done, and it essentially, it was done before. It will get better. And what was interesting is he showed me, so when you have, your medical charts on computer, they have a profile picture of you. And that was a profile picture that was taken when I was over 250. And and I thought this was a good picture of me. And he looked at it, he says, I want you to see this. You don't look like this anymore. You are doing great. You are doing the right thing. Getting your blood sugar in place, getting your weight loss down, getting your blood pressure good, getting healthy, exercising, lifting weights. You're doing the right thing. Keep going. And so I asked him, I said, but there was that European, and there is a European study out there where out of 100,000 people, it was a population study, so it means it wasn't like a trial control study. They just looked at a huge population of people taking GLP-1s, and out of 100,000 people, 20 had eye problems. 17 of them got better, and 3 of them did not. And I said, what about that study? And he said, well, you have to realize that's a really good number for diabetics. That when they start getting eye damage, they mostly don't get better. And by the fact that it was only 3 of 20 of 100,000 who ended up having severe eye damage from it, it's not the drug. It might be a little bit to do, like what my doctor said, about the shock of the drug, but it was the diabetes that caused all that problem. And you're doing the good thing and keep going. And I said, well, I am thinking about titrating off. And he said, there's so many good things that this drug does. I don't know why you would decide that. And then he smiled. He goes, you do what you think is right for you. But, and so now it has me thinking about it, essentially. And now, especially now that I'm on the 10.0 milligram dose of the drug and I feel great. Boy, I don't, we're going to take it slowly. I meet back with my regular doctor in 2 months, and then we will talk that over. So, it could have been, there's like a pseudo swelling, but essentially it was just a mild pattern of edema. And so essentially it's great news. And thank you for joining. I appreciate that. Yeah, it kept my stress levels down to, using AI, but thank you so much. This is good news. I was so nervous last week. I was kind of not a mess because I'm like one of those people who's really good in an emergency. I'm very stoic, but I kind of fall apart afterwards. But essentially, this was I was injuring my body. And I guess the lesson to me, and when I sort of was driving home, I was thinking about it. I was also driving home, I dilated, so I was going, also. But is that I did not take diabetes seriously. My diabetes wasn't very strong. it had lasted a long time because, again, I got diagnosed right before the pandemic, and then I wasn't going to go to the clinic while we were having a pandemic because my problems were the least of it. People needed to see doctors, and it wasn't me. So I let basically a low level of diabetes get treated or untreated for 5 years. And I didn't take it seriously because it's very low level, right? And in effect, it was doing damage to my body. Sugar in your blood system is very damaging to your body. And so I didn't take it seriously. And I thought, gosh, that's on me. I really needed to do that. I really needed to take it more seriously than I did. And just the fact that I had damage going on in my eyes, because we know diabetes can damage the eye, it was happening all along. So again, I'm going to get monitored. I have to go back to the eye doctor in 2 months just to make sure that it's resolving itself. And I just thought it was so weird because this is 18 months later. My blood sugar has been low since day 3. I started taking this drug in June of 2024. Why now? And that was the interesting thing to me. But I also waited a year and a half to go to the eye doctor. And so that was my other lesson. Like, when you have diabetes, especially when you're taking a drug that is changing your nature of your glucose sugar, you should go to the eye doctor is essentially what I'm saying. So I thought it was great, and I'm just relieved. And I feel I just, besides now having a lower dose and now knowing this is behind me, or at least, resolving itself. Oh gosh, it is, it's such a great resolution to what, basically we were seeing last week. So overall, this was really good. And I guess I encourage all of you to, go see your eye doctor, particularly if it's part of your benefit. It was free for me because of my benefits. And so it's kind of silly that I did not go to the eye doctor. But I'm going to be taking that a little bit more seriously. And it's true, too, not just when it comes to diabetes, but other things, that other doctors can spot something wrong with you. Eye doctors, tooth doctors. Sometimes illnesses show themselves up in different ways than you just going to the doctor right away. So thank you. So, yeah, you Googled it. The bright side, you went to the eye doctor and became aware of it. Yes, that is really true. The funny thing is, and I'll tell why I ended up going to the eye doctor now, is because, first of all, you start getting those emails that say, your benefits are about to expire. You should go to the eye doctor, because the eye doctor's trying to get me to go there. And I thought, yeah, it is the end of the year. I should really go, because at the new year, your benefits start over again. So the other part of it is that I have a friend who wanted me to try his Apple Vision Pro. If you don't know, I work as part on a tech podcast with Apple things, iPhones, iPads, Apple Watch, all those things. And he wanted to let me use his Apple Vision Pro, and he suggested that I go get the little eye inserts so that I can see clearly in the Apple Vision Pro. That's why I went to the eye doctor. And so when the nurse asked me, she goes, well, why did you go to the eye doctor? Was it for cause? And I said, no, there was this Apple. I'm a nerd. That's why I went to the eye doctor, because I'm a nerd. And that's what got me to go. So that was pretty amazing. I came home, and I still had half a work day left, and my eyes were dilated. And oh boy, I made a mistake of trying to think I could work when my eyes were all messed up from dilation. That is another life lesson. It takes hours for that to go away. So there you can do. So, I think in the end for me, it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to be nervous, and it's even okay for you to do research on the internet or AI, but understand you're getting something that may not be true. And, you always work with your doctor. But like I said, it had me ask really good questions. And the big question was, is this ocular edema or macular edema, or is this something? And I said, is this macular edema? And he goes, oh, great question. Oh, well, ChatGPT told me to ask that. And he goes, oh, that's a great question. Let me show you. And he showed me on my eye scan, and he said, let's review it together, because I know you're kind of curious about this. And he showed me what it would look like if it had actually started affecting my macular a part of my eye. And he said, your eyes are actually in great shape. And I'm like, besides the fact I can't see right now because you dilated them and you scared the crap out of me, I'm so glad my eyes aren't really great. He did not scare the crap out of me. I scared the crap out of me. Yeah, you go see your doctor annually. It's great. And I appreciate you being here today. So like I said, we're going to monitor it. I go back in 2 months, but I feel so much better. I'm just relieved that everything is all right. And I even went out bird watching yesterday and saw two lifer birds that I've never seen before, which is why I need my eyeballs. One was a harlequin duck and the other one was a long-tailed duck, and I've never seen those before. And apparently in my town, the harlequin duck had only been here once in the 1990s and once in the 1980s. Obviously, there might be more, but people have seen it. And I'm like, boy, this is why my eyeballs are so important. I'm so relieved to have my eyeballs back. So that's part of this story. We'll talk a little bit too about, years and years of not going. Yeah. Boy, I have to tell you, I always think of doctors as the people you go to when something's wrong. And we live in an age where we go to doctors to help us find when something's wrong. And I just think, well, I feel great health. Why would I go to a doctor? And yeah, I'm going to change my mind on that one last. So now I'm kind of stuck with this because the eye doctor, my main practitioner, is like, I would love to tell you that you're going to keep the weight off if you were to leave GLP-1. And he said, that is not my experience. Now this eye doctor is like, oh, it does so many things for your heart and for inflammation, and it does protect your eyes. Why would you leave it, is basically the gist of what he said. This is doing great things for you. Why go off of it? And so again, it's probably just this old vision I have of myself, is that you take medication when you need it and you stop taking medication when you don't need it. My cholesterol went down. I'm not taking my cholesterol medicine because I don't have a cholesterol problem anymore. And so part of me thinks that, so now I'm kind of in this debate with myself. Right now, I feel great on the 10 milligram dose. Why go off of it, right? That's the idea. But I feel like back in my old age, my ages, I played video games a lot. And I would have like a bag of Cheetos or some snack up here. And I would drink, I would just get a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke, and I would just sit there and be playing these video games and drinking this Diet Coke and eating the Cheetos and not exercising and not moving at all. And I fixed all of that in 2013 when I had that surgery. I started eating healthy. I started eating food that actually, like I always joked, that would come off of a farm. I could identify it. If I went to a farm, I could identify this food item as something I could eat. I look at packages and I make sure that they do not read like a chemistry label. And I started doing that. I started lifting weights back in 2013. And I started doing the right thing. I started building habits around my health. I did start losing weight, but like I said, during the pandemic, it became painfully slow, where it was 16 pounds over the course of 3 years. And I don't know, I was talking to my friend about this before I went on GLP-1. I said, at this rate, I'm going to be in my 80s before I lose the weight. It's too long. And so I decided to do that. I think that it was your metabolism breaks, either because of menopause or either because you're diabetic, or maybe you've just been overweight for too long in your life. Maybe something just breaks in you, and this gave me the leg up so I could actually lose the weight. I finally, like I said, got down to 80 pounds off, and let's just try keeping it for a while and not worrying about it. And so that's kind of why I want to leave this drug. I have the knowledge I need. I have the habits I need. I have the support I need. I have the self-awareness of what I did wrong and the emotional tools. I mean, part of what I did wrong was, I think, ADHD. I ate impulsively. And now I know that about myself, and that this drug taught me that. So part of me says I could come off of this drug and I'm going to be fine. But I also think, and I'm also stuck at a plateau. And so this is the second part of it, that I think I'm in a place that I got stuck at. And that means the body knows how to do the math, and it's going to resist going up or down. So being stuck in this plateau area, I think will actually help me maintain the weight as much as it's helping me not lose the weight. So I'm hoping that. And so in the audience, I agree with your eye doctor. I plan on staying on this shot because we all need to make choices. Boy, and she wished me the best. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll see. And so basically, I do believe that I'm going to have a good time. Not a good time. I do believe that I could be successful. I am prepared. I have the right practices in place. I think I could leave this drug. And my inner being says, try it. While I have two doctors saying, don't try it. Just find a place where you can live and stay there. And so we're going to try, I think, just a little bit of both. That right now I'm at 10.0. I feel awesome. All my statistics, my heart rate has come back down. My heart rate variability has bounced back up. I am not talking about heart rate variability before, but when I first started trying to lose weight, my heart rate variability was somewhere in the 17 to lower 20s. And as I started losing weight, it went up towards close to 50. And it's better. And that means it's better for your energy levels. It's better for your heart. Your heart, I think, is working less, strenuously. And so all those stats started bouncing back up again. And so I don't know. Like I said, we're going to try this. I have another appointment with my regular doctor in 2 months as well, and we're going to talk this over. So do I titrate down? Do I stay at 10 for a while? That is up for question now. Like I said, I have two doctors who I get a kick out of. Both doctors are great, and I love these guys. And they're both saying stay on the drug. So again, who am I to argue when you have two really good doctors telling you to do that? So we'll see how it goes. I guess part of my help or my idea was of getting off of the drug is that I thought, well, I could titrate all the way off on the drug. And then in 2 years, if I decided that I wanted to lose the last 20, 25 pounds of weight, then I would go back on low dose 2.5 because maybe we would reset our dose levels, and then I could just knock out that last 20, 25 pounds and then, be done. I looked into that, and while some people do say that they have quit the drugs and reset their dose amount, nobody knows if that's true or not. There's no clinical trials, there's no research on whether or not you actually reset your dose levels even after being off of it for a while. So there's still, I think, more to find out. We're on the verge of 2 pills coming out, one from Eli Lilly and one from, it might be the Ozempic makers, and then also the Retrutaglide, which I can't say any of the names, and that there's a brand new drug coming there too. This is an emerging science with a lot of energy and a lot of money going into it. How can we get people to lose weight, and how do we get people to keep the weight off? And we will find out. So I think I'm just going to hold tight for the time being and just see how these trials play themselves out. And in the audience, it says that personally, I think the shots were taken away from me. I would manage your weight okay too. Yeah, it's easier to manage with the shot, and choosing the easier path. I know, that's the funny thing. You've been given this, to me, I'm telling myself in my head, you've been given this miracle drug that helps you stay off of Diet Coke. It stopped you from eating a ton of salt. You got into good habits. What are you doing? Say, oh, I have this miracle. And I think the first thought in your mind is I'm going to quit my miracle, drug from happening. So it's a great thought. I think you're right. Why would you not take the easier path? And I think it's partly this old stupid stoic thing, that where you sit there and you think, I should do this myself, which is dumb thinking, because now that I've taken this drug and I see how a working metabolism should actually work, why is this any different than someone who has to take blood pressure medicine or cholesterol medicine or, getting in shape and doing the best you can and exercising and doing all those things? Great, do those things. Why would you want to white knuckle this when you have something to help you? And you agree. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's true. And so this is going to be a lot of thought for me. So you're in much of the know as I do. That I don't know, maybe we just stay at 10, because 10 right now is a really good spot for me. And like I said, I feel so awesome this week. Oh, 12 really knocked me down a notch. And I think right at the end when I quit, I finally adapted to it. But I don't think you want to go through life with the thing, well, at least I adapted to it. I want to feel awesome, because everyone asked me that. You lost 80 pounds. Don't you feel great? And I kept saying, sure, yeah. And I didn't. I did not feel great. And then I feel great right now. So this is good news. It's been a good, we're going out in the year in a good spot. I hope you're all going out in the year in a good spot. I appreciate, for those of you who are watching here and everything else, Gosh, blessings to you at the end of this year. I hope everything it goes well in your journeys that you're having. And like I said, real scary week, but it ended up okay too. This goal for me right now, before I talk to my doctor in 2 more months, is I'm going to kick up my exercise. Now that my energy levels are back, exercise. I am going to exercise is exactly what I'm going to do. So, yeah. Why would you? Why do we turn down medicine that's there to help us? I think the idea is that I work in clinical trials. I work with drug trials for the most part in a research institution. And for the past 20 years, I helped research institutions with their clinical trials in setting them up in the software and reporting in them. And it always feels like you get a drug, like let's say high blood pressure medication, and then it has this side effect. So then you take this other drug, which has this other side effect. And now you're like 4 medicines in deep trying to fight off the side effects from the very first drug that you were taking, probably the most important one. And so in your mind, you think, gosh, I don't want to be on drugs. I spent all this time in my life not being on a single drug that was daily, or medication that's daily. But but then you think, GLP-1 has not done anything to me. It didn't wreck my eyeballs. It didn't, maybe a little tired, which it's not doing anymore. Just stay here. So I'm having a lot of voices in my head, and we'll go through all of this together. I appreciate you being out there. You can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. Put comments in the chat channel if you want. And if there's a topic that you're interested in, like I said, I'm not selling anything. I don't have a premium membership. I'm just interested in all of us getting through this healthy, that this is a miraculous time for us all. And if we can just be a community together and just get through this, that's the idea. So I appreciate you being out there. Have a great week. And thank you again for joining in the audience. I really appreciate you being there. Thanks so much.